हाय वेलकम टू सिनेमा हॉल और आज स्पेशल गेस्ट क्योंकि दिस इज अनदर फ्राइडे एंड एज यू नो कि हर फ्राइडे हम लोग यहाँ पे इकट्ठे होते हैं फॉर सम सिनेमा बेस्ड डिस्कशंस एंड फॉर द podcast tonight I have Anmol Jamwal from Tried and Refused Productions, also known as Jammy Pants. Welcome Anmol यार, कैसे हो?
बस ऑल गुड, थैंक यू केशव। बात करते हैं क्या we're going to talk about इस हफ्ते क्या आया था कि जनरली
नहीं, I mean it depends कि इस हफ्ते तो खैर पिछले हफ्ते फैमिली मैन आया था, बट आई एम श्योर कि सबने आपके चैनल पे ऑलरेडी रिव्यूज देख लिए हैं उसके, एंड इवन मेरे चैनल पे वी डिड अ वीडियो अबाउट राज एंड डीके लास्ट वीक. So today I think I would really want to talk a bit about cinema in general and how things have gone in the last few years for Bollywood or for Indian film industry in general, and जिस पे आपकी काफी गहरी नजर रहती भी है. So first things first, मुझे और मेरे काफी दोस्तों को ये जानना है. So Jammy Pants के पीछे क्या स्टोरी है, how you came up with that name, and Tried and Refused Productions के पीछे क्या स्टोरी है? How did you thought, how you think कि यार ये कुछ हो सकता है, दिस इज इंटरेस्टिंग?
तो यूजर नेम का कुछ ज्यादा इंटेलेक्चुअल बात नहीं है. आई स्पेंट हाई स्कूल इन बोर्डिंग स्कूल, और बोर्डिंग स्कूल में मेरे ब्रदर थे मुझसे पहले, और फिर मैं जब आया लोग मुझे सिर्फ लास्ट नाम से बोलते थे, जामवाल या जैमी. तो जो मेरे 6 साल थे हाई स्कूल के वो जैमी पे ही चले गए. तो उस हिसाब से कोई भी मुझे अनमोल के नाम से कभी नहीं बोलता है, तो मुझे हमेशा जैमी ही बोलते हैं. तो फिर उस हिसाब से यूजर नेम का कुछ इंटेलेक्चुअल एस्पेक्ट नहीं है, बस यही है कि इट्स अ निकनेम दैट आई हैव ऑलवेज हैड, सो इट्स ऑलवेज स्टक विद मी. ट्राइड एंड रिफ्यूज प्रोडक्शंस का है कि I was a student who did pretty okay for himself in school. I was really into sports. I was academically good. But what happens with boarding school is that you become a jack of all trades but a master of none, because there are seasons out there, compared to day school. Day school में क्या होता है कि अगर आप एक स्पोर्ट बहुत अच्छा खेल रहे हो तो आप वो पूरे साल तक खेलते रहते हो. तो पर बोर्डिंग स्कूल में क्या होता है कि आपको सीजन्स मिलते हैं. सीजन्स होते हैं 2 महीने के क्रिकेट के, 2 महीने के हॉकी के, and वगैरह वगैरह. And this is the same for extracurricular activities only. I think the only constant I've had in my life is dance. That's why dance is such a important aspect of the channel. But what I realized was ki when we got out of the bubble that was school, we realized that we weren't really the top cream of any of those aspects that people have specialized in for like 5 or 7 years. So my experience, especially in college, was that I assumed that I was really proficient in a lot of things, but I was above average at best. So it was a take on what our experiences were, which were like, we tried to excel, but eventually, we're one of the anomalies in the case of not standing out in a crowd. So it was considered to be a perspective of anyone. So it somehow became about film, that I strictly give my perspective from an artist's perspective. Even if I'm like a random choreographer or a performer all my life, it was something that people could connect with because it was a voice among them rather than somebody sitting on an ivory tower saying that this is the way it should be.
Yeah, and I think it's a very apt name as well in a way, because when I came across your channel for the first time, मुझे लगा कि this looks like a story of जैसे TBF था. So TBF first went to MTV and they got rejected and from everywhere, and then they started their own thing. तो I thought कि ऐसी कोई story है इस बंदे के पीछे भी, कि इसने भी कहीं पे pitch किए होंगे अपने ideas. He tried and he got people refused him, and then that's when he started his own thing.
Too many times, Keshav. Actually, individually at one point, and now I'm experiencing this as a production team, because we have a creative stream that is trying to pitch ideas now, and we have a writing team that's working on something. And I've sat through several Zoom meetings where people are criticizing us thinking that we're small, but they're doing sort of like a quarter of the numbers that we might be doing. So, that has been my experience throughout, where there are gatekeepers to a particular thing and you get rejected simply from the perception that they have of you rather than really watching your work. So it's sort of like my life experience as a whole completely.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when actors go to audition and the guy at the gate will select, okay, fit, not fit, fit, not fit.
ओह, वहाँ पर
Somebody.
कभी आराम नगर चले जाओ कभी, फिर वहाँ पर पता चलेगा.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, coming back to cinema, so a lot of my viewers are really interested in knowing ki you have this huge inclination now towards South Indian cinema, and you give it equal focus जितना हिंदी फिल्म से हिंदी content पे करते हो. So South Indian cinema, even I am very new to it. Just a couple of months ago, I started watching, and the first one I watched was Joji and Great Indian Kitchen. So great start for me as well. I mean, these are two good films to for an easy transition, क्योंकि especially Great Indian Kitchen में इतने dialogues नहीं थे, so you can get into the zone easily. So मेरा सवाल ये है कि at what point of time you really got sucked into the South Indian cinema? क्योंकि I'm sure कि you also when you started, उससे पहले जैसे मुझे doubts होते थे कि यार पता नहीं मजा आएगा नहीं आएगा, मैं connect कर पाऊंगा नहीं कर पाऊंगा foreign language के साथ. तो I'm sure कि before you started you had such doubts. So when was it, or which film was it which really got you in?
So the OTT space has really sort of opened the gates for anyone in India to check out really, what these different states are doing. And I think the trigger was something of a, from a structural thriller point of view, it's a very good film. But technically, it was something that I was like, wow, we are so ignorant to the fact of what's being produced from India, while we're constantly talking about cinema in Europe or even, South Korea, like Parasite. So there's a movie called Ratchasan, which I had seen in 2018. It's a Tamil thriller. And, from a storyline perspective, it isn't something revolutionary. It's a thriller about a serial killer. But it just made me realize that from a technical standpoint, when it comes to cinematography and especially background score, a lot of from a visual standpoint, for me to really connect with a piece like that by watching it on my laptop, it really showcased something which the Hindi film industry was not doing, especially commercial cinema was not doing. And I've realized also that thrillers is something these states really know how to do well. So I think Ratchasan was one of the first films that I really connected with. And then it carried on to watch, a lot of Tamil films, which included Super Deluxe again, which included a lot of, Mari Silvaraj. He's a Tamil director who made Peruram Perumal and Karnan as well. Then I realized that from storyline perspectives as well, they're talking about socio-political aspects that Hindi films in the last 5 years maybe have never even touched.
Yeah.
So, then again, from a cinematic perspective, I got obsessed with Lee Jojo's Pillasari, which was, he's made Jallikattu and like several other films where from a cinematography perspective, it's like some of the craziest long shots you would have never expected in Indian films to exist. So, these were movies which I was like, what? Like, we're like talking about Parasite, but we have like crazy cinema right now. Like, I saw this Kannada film in the theater full of Kannadagans called Avane Sriram Narayana, which is a Western, and it's like set like a Conan Brothers film with the comedy gags randomly appearing with a full set, about a loot basically being found. And I realized that these guys who on an ignorant national scale you might be like, oh, he's a Telugu star, oh, he's a Kannada star. These guys are actually like national stars now.
Yeah.
And the fact that post the pandemic a Vijay can do over 200 crores with a movie like Master, it tells you first of all the fan base that they have, the conviction that they have to their storytelling, and how, I don't know what it is, but big film stars in Hindi are sort of losing faith in their star power. I'm still saying, when the first wave had ended and we were doing 50% occupancy in theaters and Ruhi had come out and Mumbai Saga had come out, all of these films had come out. If Radhe would have released at that point of time, I know it would have done 200 crores. But that faith, I don't know what it is, but it's slowly diminishing. That Bombay bubble slowly burst.
Yeah, and even with Radhe, I mean, Salman, he's not the new generation or the current generation actor. I was talking to somebody the other day. So we were discussing कि ये जो last era जो superstars वाली थी, maybe the Khans or Akshay Kumar and these guys. After that, the new era, I don't think they will see that amount of stardom or that amount of pagalpon ever in their careers, because so much has changed. The audience has matured so much after watching the content from West or even South. And I heard you also on some other podcast where you were discussing the fandom in South is some other level. I mean, I know because I was in Chennai for 6 years. Forget a Tamil film, I watched MS Dhoni in theaters. I mean, Dhoni is almost like a huge...
A god over there, bro. Chennai.
Yeah, तो मैंने जब धोनी देखी वहाँ हिंदी में, इनफैक्ट मैंने हिंदी में देखी थी वहाँ पे, हिंदी में जो रिस्पॉन्स आ रहा था, उसके बाद देन आई रियली वांटेड टू सी कि अच्छा तमिल में भी देखना पड़ेगा इसको, वहाँ पे कैसा रिस्पॉन्स आ रहा है, कि मतलब जिसमें सुशांत सिंह राजपूत है, कोई साउथ का हीरो भी नहीं है, इन दैट इफ दे आर गेटिंग मैड लाइक दैट, एंड देन हाउ crazier it would be in a Rajnikant or a Kamal Hassan or a Vijay movie. So do you think कि जो fans का वहाँ पे एक पागलपन है अपने stars को लेके, that also is another reason कि why the stardom here is not at that level like in South?
See, Keshav, I think the lure of going to Gate Galaxy for a Salman Khan movie is slowly going away, and it still exists. I think the last superstar was Hrithik Roshan. I think since then, everyone has not really become a star. I think if you can consider after Hrithik, maybe Kangana Ranaut's a star in that way. When it comes to, just the rabid fan base that she has, who are like ride or dies, like kuch bhi ho jaye, she's right. That kind of thing. But I feel like in the Hindi film industry, it's completely diminished. And what I've noticed with Tamil and especially Telugu film industry is superstars are every 5 years there are new superstars. Yeah, so even the young generation, they're stars now. So like if you look at Allu Arjun, you look at Junior NTR, you look at Rana Daggupati, Prabhas, they're all superstars. You can't say the same thing for Varun Dhawan. You can't say the same thing for Aditya Roy Kapoor. These guys, I mean, you can maybe say it for Ranbir, but his movies like tank horribly sometimes.
Yeah,
so,
I was coming to that. Because Ranbir, I think by the time Ye Jawani Hai Diwani came, he was वो वहाँ जा रहा था. But then, the choices he made or, the response he got for Roy or Bombay Velvet or Besharam, I think that's when the numbers came down and eventually his stardom as well.
But I love his choices, yaar. No matter how absurd they are, somehow I love the characters that he connects with. And now I think he's realized, dude, I gotta up the quotient after Sanju. That's why he's doing,
he's taking
the animal movie. He's doing, sort of like full-on thrillers and something that you wouldn't expect from Ranbir. Also, what happens with things like Tamasha and Jagga Jasoos failing is that the faith of a creator like Ranbir to do something eccentric goes away, which breaks my heart.
Yeah, that's true.
But but anyway, I'll tell you, I think Ranveer Singh, Ranbir Kapoor, Shahid Kapoor, they're sort of but they're still not stars. They have one-off hits. But if you look
in the middle, मतलब वो जो एक stardom है और जो नीचे वाले, I think they're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Whereas Salman will guarantee you a hit. Akshay Kumar will guarantee you a hit. Sometimes they fail, but
here,
I'm telling you the
hit का हम जो बात कर रहे हैं, I think it's based on the numbers the movie makes, right? Even if the reviews are poor, like Household 4, I remember the reviews are so bad. I think you guys do the ugly work for us people like us, because you have to watch it every Friday and put it out.
But Keshav, how does Houseful 4 work? It's not even light fun. It was irritating. And I saw a film. It's a Telugu film called Jati Ratnalu. Okay, it has Naveen Polishetty in it, who's become a superstar. A guy who was doing cameo roles in AIB videos on YouTube has become a Telugu superstar now. And it reminded me of Hera Fairy. It reminded me of Andaz Apna Apna. And then you look at the comedies we're making, it's so disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I miss those old comedies, yaar. वो Priyadarshan का जो era था, from Hera Fairy, Halchal, Hangama, Chup Chup Ke, Dhol, Dhamal, all that whole era was. अभी
the mid 2000s were beautiful.
Yeah. I don't. फिर Hera Fairy के memes अब तक relevant है. And I don't remember कि when was the last good comedy that came. Can you name one? Like जो last अच्छी कोई comedy आई?
I think something which was enjoyable. Maybe Stree was enjoyable. Go Goa Gone maybe was.
But they had.
That was 2014.
Go Goa Gone was 2013 and Stree was 18, I think. But इनमें भी horror वाला factor था ना. I'm just talking about वो जो pure जो प्रियदर्शन type की comedy. वैसी मुझे याद भी नहीं आ रही.
This is a very unpopular opinion and I always bring it up. It's another Raj and DK movie. I thoroughly enjoyed A Gentleman. 99 though I love. 99 I love.
I can talk on 99 for hours.
Oh my god, I love that film, and I remember when I went to a theater to watch it.
I also went.
But there's something about Raj and DK's humor, and I understand that it doesn't help when you've got above average actors. Like let's face it, let's be real that Siddharth and Jacqueline are not like the acting talents that you would want a project to be elevated. But I just love their humor, yaar, and just seeing sort of like some of these veteran actors like just have a ball. They were having fun on set, at least it seemed like that. But you're definitely right about the fact that humor is sort of dead. And even when you look at the commercial landscape, Simba was like, I think, the last action comedy. And but it is the same Rohit Shetty formula.
Yeah. I think
Tonu Ki Tittu, I don't know.
No, yaar, wo bhi nahi. One film that comes to mind, but it came on OTT, was Loot Case. I think it was funny.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, Loot Case was great.
लेकिन वो theater में आती तो और मजा आता.
It was actually supposed to release 6 months before that, and it got eaten up by War. War was coming out the same week that it was coming out, so the producers were like, screw that, you're gonna like shoot yourself in the foot, wait for it. And by the time they waited for it, the pandemic happened, and then they had to sort of do
Bareilly Ki Barfi was kind of funny.
I liked it. Bareilly Ki Barfi is good. Yeah.
But so coming back to the point, I mean, and of course, how you said Gentleman, I'm so happy you pointed out Gentleman, because I think it's an underrated film. I remember watching it in theaters back to back with Babu Masha Banduk Paas. So दोनों फिल्में एक साथ release हुई थी, and I had seen them back to back. I enjoyed Gentleman more. And talking about 99, I have such a good memory of it, because since you also watched it in theaters, you would remember कि उन दिनों ना some rift was going on between distributors and theater owners. तो कोई film आ नहीं रही थी 2 महीने तक. 99 was the first film that really came out, and back then I had just come out of school. And I had this new found freedom in life. तो क्योंकि उससे पहले क्या होता था, in my childhood, my parents would take me to theaters just once a year. वो भी कोई आमिर खान की फिल्म जो उन्हें पसंद होती थी तो हम देखने जाते थे. So I was always drawn towards this whole theater going experience, and getting popcorns, and वो जो एक पूरा dark होता है, theater की smell होती है. So that whole experience was something I waited for all my school life. And once I got to college, 99 was the first film I ever bunked a class for, and you know what? You won't believe I watched 99 4 times in theaters.
Oh my god! I think the only movie I've done that with is Jaane Tu Ya Jaane Na. Maybe 4 times, maybe. But mainly because
Rockstar 4 times in theater.
Oh my god! I think I saw Rockstar 4 times as well. Yeah. we had actually like one of my batchmates had busted out of the school campus to watch it. He came back and he's like, I have not seen anything like this, and then everyone was obsessed.
Yeah. So now let's get back to the point we were discussing. So the South Indian cinema. Uh, Also, एक तो हमने fandom और stardom की बात की, how they are outplaying, but in terms of content also now, how they are outplaying Bollywood. Uh, do you see any specific reasons? Maybe the creative freedom given there is more, or maybe they are not afraid to experiment. So, what's it about South Indian cinema? The right things they are doing and we are not.
See, I think something that is articulated by Rana Daggubati really well. See, he's a man who owns several theaters all across Andhra Pradesh. So he has a perspective which is informed about why the audience keeps on coming to the theater to watch a film. And they have created a culture to make film viewing very affordable in Andhra Pradesh. So it allows multiple viewings for even a person who is lower middle class or a laborer. A rickshaw wala can watch that same movie, which is sort of okay and in their means. Whereas the culture of Bombay has become about multiplexes, maximum number of shows. What happens now is the preference of slots being given to them in such a way where they're just looking at the margins. How we can extend our margins to the maximum level by selling a ticket for 400 or 500 bucks. Also, what's happened is, what their analysis, at least for the Telugu film audience analysis, is that there is too much money in Mumbai right now. See, when you've been on the top of the game for 7 decades, now you're like, okay, we're sort of the representation of what Indian cinema is. Now what happens is, when you prioritize the finances of the film before a movie gets streamlined into the making, then your core sort of is anyway gone, but you didn't start with the right intention anyway. Whereas in Andhra Pradesh especially, they talk about that the person who holds most importance is the writer. So what's happened is that even when a commercial film is being placed, their focus is a lot on what the story is being told. Even when, see, I'll tell you a perfect example, like Dhanush. Dhanush is in Tamil Nadu is a commercial star. He is basically at the same bracket as Ranveer Singh, Ranbir Kapoor, but his success rate is 100% over there, because his intention with the film that he does, especially now in the last 3 or 4 years, if you look back at some of his films, there's a lot of problematic social context to a lot of his old films. But if you look at the last 4 years, there is always an intention to communicate before entertaining. So there is something being said which is a commentary on what is the reality of people from Tamil Nadu. Whereas you will never see a commercial Bollywood movie which says anything about the local people. Seeing Tiger Shroff in Baghi 3 is just aspirational, that I want to look like him, I want to beat up people like him. But from a human level, it doesn't connect with anything. So I think the intention itself is skewed right now to the point where these guys are like, dude, we're letting go of the margins. What we do by giving distribution rights to a Karan Johar or a Farhan Akhtar, kudos to them for, on a national scale, helping a movie like Bahubali or KGF to be where it is. But now a lot of the Tamil and Telugu industry people have realized that we're going to produce the film, we're going to distribute it ourselves also, because there is no point, because they're going to remake it anyway. So let's make sure that we have complete ownership of our movies. And slowly and steadily you're realizing that people are like, dude, if I actually want to look at films that are communicating something and something that I can be nationally proud of, these guys are doing it. They're writing films which are innovative and which are impactful. Whereas I don't know, the commercial Hindi films that way, I wouldn't completely diss it, but Family Man is an anomaly in the Hindi language, and it gets elevated because it's created by Andhra creators who have set it in Tamil Nadu while everyone's speaking Tamil. There's an authenticity to it. Whereas you've got a Thugs of Hindustan, which is showcasing British officers behind closed doors talking to each other in Hindi, and you're like, what's going on over here? So I don't know. It's a, and you know what's I've also realized, which will be the Hindi film industry's downfall, is that they're trying to emulate the same mythological stories that have become popular just because of Bahubali. So now you will only see variations of you know the
Mahabharat.
legends of Ashwathama, Mahabharat. You'll see these kind of stories coming in because everybody wants to create that big scale thing that does another 1,000 crores. So the intention itself is the business point of view, not the story.
Yeah,
That
and
itself is, I think, the big difference.
I sometimes think that, even if they remake all these South Indian films, why not pick good scripts that, actually, मतलब यार देखो, इन्होंने Wanted बनाई थी from some Pokhiri, I think that film.
Pokeri, yeah.
Yeah, so they always pick these kind of scripts to remake it. I think even Master is being remade now in
Yeah.
Hindi. So why not pick something like a Karnan or a Nayat or a Joji? मतलब उसको भी तो आप रीमेक कर सकते हो. See You Soon, मतलब कितना स्कोप है यार उसके अंदर See You Soon में. So even
See,
the
but Keshav, you look at that. I think it was when the pandemic had just hit.
Yeah.
And what we were getting from the Hindi film industry was whatever was in the back burner of production houses, they were being released. So whatever had not released was releasing while these guys shot a movie at that same time. So, you're looking at people who are constantly thinking about what can elevate what they did previously rather than emulate what is already successful. It's a little...
They just not shot it, but also had some sort of context for COVID as well. Like in Joji, he's wearing masks.
Yeah.
People are wearing masks, and they are making it in contemporary times. Matlab, I just cannot forgive myself for getting into Malayalam cinema or South Indian cinema so late in my life. Matlab, I thought कि यार कितना मैं miss कर रहा था. So much of quality content. Like I ended up watching old classics by Farhad Fasil, like Mahishante Pratikaram and Thondai Mudlam. I forgot how to pronounce that, but yeah.
That one's a tough one.
Yeah.
I get absolute slander from Mallus in my comments, so I tend to read it 7 times and still get it wrong.
I remember my first interaction with you on your channel was also in the same context, because you had just put up the review for Thalaivi, the trailer, and you were pronouncing it Thalaivi. So I had put a comment कि यार South में like these words like th and dh.
th नहीं होता, t होता है.
Dh भी नहीं होता है. So it like people how even for cricketers like how we call Uthappa. So he's Uthappa. Yeah. So that was our first interaction, and you had put a reply as well there. So just quickly to wrap it up, like how I was talking about, when I got into college and how the whole theatre going experience was very fascinating for me. I'm sure you also are missing the theatre going experience as hell. तो अभी वो जो OTT का boom आ गया पिछले 1-1.5 साल में इंडिया में, I somehow feel कि both can coexist and should coexist, because nothing can replace the theatre going experience. Na? That's why films like 83 and Suryavanshi are not getting released.
They will coexist, and I still firmly believe if Akshay Kumar would have, after the first wave had gone down a bit, released Suryavanshi, it would have been a super hit. Everyone would have gone, dude, everyone was hanging around in malls. People will be hypocritical if they think that, oh, no one was out, everyone was like hyperventilating about the wave, everyone was in bloody Goa, everyone was clubbing in all the places that I know in Bandra. So I know, just from a audience's perspective, they would have gone. And I don't know what it is, but I see a sense of a loss of confidence in their own star power, which is rather odd to me, but I think it can definitely coexist, and Master is a clear example of that. Jati Ratnalu is a clear example of that. It's a comedy which did over 100 CR, and it wasn't even dubbed in Hindi. So you're looking at these stories, and I feel like, the two movies that really got a theatrical run from the Hindi film industry were Ruhi and Mumbai Saga. Both are really below average films. So, they did the business they did. Nobody's, John Abraham, he is a star, but, if you're going to provide a product like that, people will be like, why should I even take the risk,
Yeah, and even there, वहाँ पे भी there is this sort of dichotomy कि when films like Ram Prasad Ki Tervi are also coming up in theaters, and even Sandeep or Pinky Farrar, these were so much better than Ruhi and Mumbai Saga, and yet जब ऐसे time में जब मूवीज रिलीज नहीं हो रही है, उसमें आपको कोई ऑप्शन दे रहा है, लोग तब भी नहीं जा रहे, देन यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड द माइंडसेट बिहाइंड जो एक कंटेमिनेट हो चुका है ना इतने सालों में.
Yeah, that that's the contentious sort of argument I constantly get to, which is, what is the problem? Is the problem the lack of innovation, or the problem is that the audience wants what is already being told to them for the past decades, that this is great cinema?
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Where the Hindi film industry is on top, so they're like, okay, let's just persist and keep on doing the same thing, let's just buy the remake rights and make a good film. And the audience is like, क्या बोरिंग थी पिक्चर, राम प्रसाद की तेरबी इज अबाउट फैमिली congregating together for a funeral, ये देखने आऊंगा मैं. So you have both these arguments happening, and there is no this is wrong or this is right.
There is hypocrisy as well. मतलब same people like Paglat when it came on OTT. तो I think एक वो perception ये भी बदल जाता है कि अच्छा ये OTT पे आया है तो ये इंडी वाला है तो ठीक है, 8 फिल्में मैं देख लूंगा, बट वो थिएटर में होती है रिलीज तो वहां बोर हो जाते हैं वो लोग.
But Keshav, social media is a whole bubble in itself. I've realized that these intellectual discussions on Twitter and Instagram of recommending films which were amazing and all of that sticks to that bubble. These guys don't really translate into ticket sales also a lot. So what happens on the ground level to what happens on social media is only sort of like directly affecting the OTT space, but ticket sales is something a completely different ball game. So you will can compliment Seema Pava all you want, but I know you're not going to buy that ticket. So social media that way, तो discussions when I look at it, I'm like, हाँ भाई ये बस इसी रूम के लिए ठीक है, इसके बाहर नहीं जाते.
And जो अभी हमने पूरे सिनेमा पे बात की, I can completely just replace the word cinema with music and the same applies there. मतलब मुझे and I'll replace OTT with independent music. मतलब मैं अपने पॉडकास्ट पे भी बात करता हूँ and people keep coming to me as well कि यार वो वाले मेलोडीज क्यों नहीं बन रहे हैं आज जो पहले बनते थे, तो लोग रीमेक पे रीमेक कर रहे हैं. Like a good example अनमोल would be last year जब 99 songs की jukebox रहमान सर ने रिलीज की थी. So this was right at the start of pandemic, the lockdown. He put it out like as a sort of something which people can get distracted by or can get healed with. And at the same time comes Masakali 2.0. Masakali 2.0 alone had more views than all the songs combined in 99 songs. I mean, that's the whole irony of life.
It's all bullshit, Keshav. It's all bullshit. All of these intellectuals sort of shagging off with each other that we want original stuff and all of that. The moment a bloody remake song comes, they're fucking like 20 dance routines on it. They're like, everyone's doing something or the other with it, or replaying it on TikTok and Instagram Reels or whatever. And we love to say Tony Kakkad, how overrated, dude. But you're banging his songs constantly on Spotify, dude. Listen to the number of streams he has.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You would have a more thought process behind what it is. Again, just the same business outlook, right? It's easy, it's fast, so just do it. Is it that?
Yeah, it is. So basically shortcuts. I mean, if something is already a hit, so see, usually how you connect with music, it's by the melody. क्योंकि अगर आपको कोई melody अच्छी लगती है, वो आपके subconscious में कहीं ना कहीं रह जाती है, and later on you hum the melody, right? Not the rhythm or not anything else. So that melody is the key here. So if a melody of some old song was a huge hit, like Masakali ki melody, anyone can hum क्योंकि it's very registerable. So if people, the Mafia T series who has the rights as well for the song, if they know कि अच्छा ये उस टाइम पे बहुत बड़ा हिट था, so rather than going for something new जिसमें risk है 50-50 चलेगा नहीं चलेगा, let's just do it again and put Siddharth Malhotra and Tara Sutaria dancing on that. So I mean, I just think about how Rahman sir would have felt. You remember उन्होंने Twitter पे एक वो जो post डाली थी with some angry sort of a
when Masakali had come out, and I remember when he had done an interview for 99 songs also, people were asking him, sir, have you had a problem with these music labels and everything? And he was saying that these guys are just doing it. I thought this was going to be a trend which was going to last maybe just a few months or so, and now it's been 3 years and they're carrying on. And he said one thing that he really broke his heart. His heart was Satyamev Jayate had remade Tajdare Haram, and he was like, they butchered my song, and and that must be the reality of so many artists.
Yeah, he said that sometimes they don't even ask for permission to remake his songs. I mean, I think he just liked one or two. Hamma Hamma he maybe liked, and other than that, he didn't really like anyone else. But yeah, so